Hocus Pocus by Pegasus Rescue Brigade, Chapter 11. Cool wind blew through the trees outside the academy, rustling through the dense leaves. The whistle of a train echoed from within the depths of the cave housing the station, catching the attention of something dark and formless lurking in the bushes. The shape snaked its way through the underbrush, stopping just short of the edge of the concealing shade. It shifted and writhed ominously for a few moments, until finally its indistinct outline took on a more defined shape. Cautiously, a yellow colt with bright blue eyes stepped out of the darkness and into the moonlight. The colt watched silently as four ponies emerged from the tunnel. Princess Celestia and Bright Spark, followed closely by Dinky and Clarity. Dinky Doo has returned. Yes, she has, Sunbeam rejoiced. I thought for sure when she disobeyed my instructions and used her dark magic, she had ruined everything. But if she's being permitted to remain at the academy, there may be hope for my plans yet. Yes, there may. The colt frowned. I will have to resort to plan B. Yes, I will, he thought, stopping her forehead in frustration. Dinky has learned the truth about dark magic far too soon. Yes, she has. And now, if given the choice, she won't continue to use it. The colt looked at the sky. But there is still time. Yes, there is. If I cannot persuade Dinky to continue casting dark spells, I'll just have to try a less subtle option. As the ponies drew closer to the path, Sunbeam withdrew into the darkness. Only the shimmering blue of his eyes was visible as he watched Dinky enter the castle. Enjoy your success tonight, Dinky, the colt hissed as his shape once again became strained in an amorphous. But don't get too comfortable. By the end of this term, you'll help me fulfill my goal. Yes, you will, whether you want to or not. The four ponies arrived at the dean's office. Now, I need you to write a note to the girl's overseer, Celestia instructed the dean. Make sure she's aware that Dinky is permitted to return to the tower. Yes, princess, Bright Spark said dully, trying into her office and hastily scribbling a note down to Sparker. And what of Clarity? Are you excusing her from any penalties for truancy? She did, after all, skip Thursday's classes. There's always been a decision left to the professors of the classes she missed, Celestia replied. I don't see why this situation should be any different. Bright Spark's expression remained drab. Fair enough, she said, passing the paper to Dinky and a small cloud of magic. Dinky, give this to Sparkler, then you'll be able to return to your room. Dinky grabbed the paper with her own magic and quickly read the note. Clarity peeked over her shoulder and scanned it as well. Sparkler, by the decree of Princess Celestia, the expulsion of Dinky Doo has been overturned. Please permit her to return to the dormitory, and remember that she once again falls under the students that you are responsible for. Regards, Dean Brightspark. Good. I believe that takes care of everything, Princess Celestia said, nodding. Go back to the tower and get some sleep, girls. You can both resume class tomorrow morning. Dinky bowed, and Clarity followed suit, ignoring the dean peering at them from behind her desk. The fillies left the office and made for the residence tower. Dinky pushed open the door and peeked cautiously into the lounge at the base of the tower. The filly gasped with surprise. Clarity, go check this out! Barely a day before, the room had been a mess of rubble and charred debris, reduced to a smoldering wasteland by Dinky's rogue spell. Yet, now it was as if the incident never happened. The fireplace was reconstructed. Each brick was back at its proper place, and any hint of dust and gnats had been wiped away. The carpet was clean and whole, and the walls were no longer charred and cracked. There wasn't a speck of ruckus left anywhere. The whole room looked as if the fire had never happened. But how did they? Dinky sputtered, aghast. That's the power of magic for you, Clarity chirped. This academy is home to some of Equestria's most brilliant unicorns. Even a mess like that couldn't have taken more than a day to clean up. Impressed, Dinky took another moment to examine the pristine room, before trotting forward and lifting a hook to knock on Sparkler's door. Late! Clarity said sharply. Maybe I could just go upstairs. Sparkler's not going to be happy when she sees you. Dinky nodded.
Yeah, go ahead. Don't worry. Sparkler doesn't have the authority to do anything to me.
Which doesn't mean she's going to let it slide, Clarity said dryly. She may not be able to punish you, but she'll have a few choice words for you, I'm sure. Dinky rolled her eyes.
Well, that's a given. Just wait for me upstairs. I'll be up in a minute.
I wish I didn't have to leave you alone with Sparkler, though, Clarity mumbled. I'd stay here with you if I didn't think I'd get chewed out for this, too. A thought occurred to Dinky.
Maybe you can.
The purple filly said slowly.
Do you think you can cast your fairy spell again? You filled Sparkler last time.
Clarity slapped a hoof to her forehead. Why didn't I think of that? Clarity's horn glowed, and the filly melted into her surroundings. Within a few moments, Dinky couldn't see her at all. Satisfied, Dinky turned and trotted up to Sparkler's door. She hesitated for a moment, then rapped on him gently. What do you want? The young mayor's voice called from inside. It's late. Is this important?
It's a message from the king.
Dinky called. The sound of hooves approached the door very quickly, and after a moment, it was wrenched open by a flicker of violet magic. Sparkler glanced out the door and gave a small gasp when she saw the pale purple filly in front of her. Dinky! But you're expelled! I took you back to Ponyfield myself!
Yeah, about that,
Dinky said, unable to help but feel a little smug at Sparkler's reaction.
It's not from the king. You should explain everything.
Sparkler snatched a note from Dinky and read through it in seconds. Her eyes narrowed as she crumpled the note with magic and tossed it into a wastebasket in the room behind her. Well, 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 she said slowly. The brash little filly manages once again to escape her fate. I gotta say, this time I wasn't expecting you to get away with it. But time and time again, you somehow managed to worm your way out of trouble. Unbelievable. Dinky snorted dignantly.
Hey, it wasn't my fault. I told the king and you exactly what happened. If you two had believed me in the first place, I wouldn't have had to take you to Twilight Sparkle, or ultimately to the princess.
Sparkler stamped a hoof. That's just it! Why did they believe you? Why does every pony take your side? It seems like you could just trot around here, causing whatever kind of mayhem you want, and no pony can lay a hoof on you. How am I supposed to do my job if you can just get around all the rules? With a last question, Sparkler slammed her forehost to the ground in front of Dinky, causing the latter to take several steps back.
It's not my fault, Dinky countered. I know I caused more than my fair share of trouble. I'm not trying to deny that, but all the things that have gone wrong have been accidents, or cases of me just defending myself. I'm not trying to make your job any harder. I've just been involved in some unfortunate circumstances.
No, you have not! Sparkler screamed. If you had been affected by any unfortunate circumstances, you wouldn't be at this school anymore. But your so-called circumstances seem to be in favor for tonight, considering you're here with a note signed by the dean overruling your expulsion! The older unicorn paused and shook her head furiously. It's not fair! She cried. I put all my energy into being a model student, and you're nothing but a troublemaker. How come everything works out for you, but never for me? Dinky's ear perked up.
Wait, what?
She asked, her face scrunchy and confused.
Are you saying you're upset because you think my life's better than yours, and you resent me just because of that?
Sparkler's expression became even more livid. It's none of your business why I'm upset. Just get into your room and stay there.
But
I said, get out of my sight. Now! Sparkler retreated into her room and slammed the door so hard Dinky felt the vibrations in her hose. There was a sound of squeaky bed springs, followed by muffled shouting. Clarity reappeared and shook her head sadly.
Listen to her,
Dinky mumbled.
I think she's screaming into her pillow.
Clarity sighed. She really hates your guts. But at least now we might know why, she replied softly. She's jealous, I guess.
It's too bad she never wants to say anything about her own life,
Dinky said.
I could try to help if I just knew what made her think her life so much harder than mine.
Clarity shook her head. I'm not sure she's going to open up anytime soon. There's nothing we can do but ignore her little tantrums and stay out of her way for now. After a moment, she forced herself to look a little more positive. Anyway, let's forget about Sparkler for now and head upstairs. There's a certain filly who's going to be beyond relieved to see that you came back.
Dinky grinned. I almost forgot. Come on, let's not make Honeydew wait any longer.
The upper halls were dark. Most of the fillies had already gone to bed. Dinky and Clarity silently made their way to the 6th floor, and was surprised to see the faint glow of a half-charged illumination orb coming from their room. Clarity led the way, trying not to disturb the residents of the nearby rooms. They slid forward and peered inside. The room seemed to be empty. The orb was set to cast just enough light to see around a room, which had the somewhat eerie effect of causing every object to cast a long, slender shadow. Dinky and Clarity's bunks remained undisturbed. The curtains were drawn over the wide window. Only Honeydew's bed appeared lived in. The covers were all balled up in one big mass near the pillow.
Yes, Rings, Dinky whispered. Honeydew is usually pretty tiny. Why did she?
Dinky was cut off as the massive covers gave a soft groan and visited slightly. There were a few sniffles, and the moment stopped. That explains that, Clarity whispered back. Honeydew's all wrapped up in there. She doesn't sound too good either. Both fillies walked into the room as quietly as they could, and Clarity approached Honeydew's bed. Honeydew, I'm back, she said gently. The lump beneath blanket stirred again.
Clarity?
Honeydew asked, her voice no more than a muffled squeak. Yeah, and somebody else too, Clarity replied, a little more stronger. Come out and see. The blankets writhed for a moment, and then Honeydew poked the upper half of her body out from underneath. Dinky took a look at her friend and gave a small gasp. Honeydew's appearance had deteriorated alarmingly in a day and a half's time. She hadn't bothered to put her mane up into its usual ties, so it hung loose in ungroomed clumps, concealing part of her face. Her eyes, watery and strangely vacant, looked both irritated from tears and desperate for sleep. Even her fur seemed to have lost its sheen. It took the haggard filly a moment to even focus on Clarity. She rubbed her eyes for a moment and gave another sniffle.
Well, I'm glad to see you made it back okay,
the pink filly said.
So, what did you bring with?
Honeydew trailed off as she realized the identity of the other pony standing in front of her. The pink filly rubbed her eyes again, more forcefully this time, and continued to stare as she struggled to parse the new development. In spite of Honeydew's ghastly appearance, Dinky couldn't help but smile at her friend's bewildered expression.
Yeah, I'm back, she said. For a while there, I didn't think I would be, but I guess I got lucky.
Honeydew kicked off the rest of her blankets and got to her hooves, staggering sideways as she stood. She made her way to Dinky as fast as she could in her half-conscious state, and threw her forelegs around her, pulling into a hug and bursting into sobs. Dinky, unsure what to say, simply gave Honeydew a gentle pat as the pink filly cried into her shoulder. She waited a few moments in silence until Honeydew got a hold of herself.
So what happened to you?
Honeydew managed.
How did you? Why were you?
Honeydew's embrace finally relented, and having previously been put most of her weight on Dinky's shoulder, she flopped down on the rug. Dinky constantly lifted her with magic instead, and levitated her back onto the bed.
Sorry,
Honeydew stuttered.
I don't even know why I'm crying. The last 2 days have been so hard to come to terms with. Everything just kind of happened all at once, and suddenly I was alone. Nobody could say for sure what was happening, and...
Honeydew trailed off, and Dinky sat down on the bed to her.
I'm really sorry, really,
she said, comforting her friend.
But we're back for now. For good this time.
Honeydew made an attempt to dry her tears.
But didn't you get expelled?
She asked, snuggling back into the comfort of her mattress.
That's what I kept hearing. All the ponies are whispering about it when Sparkle isn't around to hear. I didn't get expelled at first, Dinky admitted, but I managed to get better taking to Princess Celestia, and she got me unexpelled.
Honeydew smiled. Somehow, the simple expression made her whole appearance seem less disheveled.
That's good,
she said, immensely relieved.
I thought I would never see you again.
As quickly as it came, the smile faded.
And, and about what happened down the lounge, you didn't know what you were doing, did you? Of course not, Dinky replied vehemently. I never purposely used a spell that destructive.
Honeydew nodded solemnly.
I didn't think so. You seemed just as scared as I was after the fire started.
That reminds me, Clarity cut in. What happened to you after we left Honeydew? Last I saw you, you were barely conscious. Honeydew sighed.
Not much, actually, she admitted. I woke up in the care of the school nurse. She told me I suffered a massive panic attack, and she'd be monitoring to make sure my body functions were returning to normal. As soon as I woke up, I asked what had happened. She told me the fire was eventually controlled and nobody was hurt. She didn't know anything about what was to become of Dinky, though.
Honeydew paused long enough to push her unruly mane out of her face. She tied it back in a single, messy ponytail, just to keep it out of her eyes.
Anyway, she continued, as soon as they declared it safe to come back to the tower, they sent me back here. That's when I saw the note Clarity left saying she had gone after Dinky. I wasn't able to go to class today, though. Feels like I had the flu or something. But the nurse says I'm still trying to recover from that little episode. So, you just been here sleeping for most of the day?
Dinky asked. Honeydew looked bare.
Well, trying to sleep,
she mumbled.
I don't really do well with anxiety, and having no idea what happened to Dinky, as well as worrying where Clarity would wind up by following her, was making it kind of hard to get any rest. I probably look like a wreck.
You don't look that bad, Clarity lied. And now we're all back together, and everything's going to be fine, right?
Well, there's still the matter of Sunbeam, Dinky said crossly. I need to find out who he is and why he decided to teach me dark magic.
Honeydew squeaked in surprise. An already sickly complexion became even paler.
Well, why would you purposely go looking for him again?
She asked, trembling.
He almost ruined your whole life. Or still, what if you kept practicing dark magic without knowing what it was? Who knows what would have happened? I think we should go back to our normal studies and pretend he was never here. But Honeydew, that's just it, Dinky argued. Sunbeam did almost ruin my life, and I could very wound up in an even worse situation if this incident didn't happen. Even if things worked out for me in the end, there's still a cult with dark magic abilities, who the staff refuses to believe is alive, running around at school. I can't prove its existence and get it properly punished. It could cause even more trouble.
Actually, Honeydew might have a point, Clarity chimed in. We don't know what Sunbeam is capable of, so he could probably be really dangerous. He won't be able to be a real threat to the school without getting himself noticed, and if he does, I'm sure the professors will have more than a magic to stop him. But what about other foes? Dinky asked.
What if Sunbeam tricks another pony like he tricked me?
Clarity shook her head. Dinky, I'm pretty sure you're one of the only ponies here who honestly didn't know a thing about dark magic, she admitted. And if there was any pony else who didn't, they sure as heck are going to now. If Honeydew was able to hear rumors without leaving her room, I'm sure the whole school is talking about what happened in the tower yesterday. Dinky opened her mouth in an attempt to argue again, but realized she had no further point to make. I admire your courage, trying to protect the school from Sunbeam. Clarity continued, sitting down next to Dinky and Honeydew on the bed. But, under the current circumstances, it's probably best if we stay away and let it play out by itself. If you see Sunbeam again, just don't do what he says.
Honeydew nodded. Please, Dinky, I don't want to deal with something like that again. Living at this school is stressful enough as it is.
Dinky sighed.
All right, fine, she said defeated. I guess you're right. Sunbeam is somebody else's problem now.
Good, Clarity said. Now, I think all of us are exhausted. Let's get some sleep.
Now, that's an idea I don't have any arguments with,
Dinky said, climbing off of Honeydew's bed and crawling to her own bunk.
Let's get some rest. You start fresh tomorrow with this all dark magic thing behind us.
Clarity drew the dim light out of the orb. It took only moments for all three fillies to fall asleep. The next morning was Friday. Dinky could scarcely believe it was still the same week. It seemed like ages had passed since the fire. Honeydew woke up around the same time Dinky and Clarity did, instead of at dawn. and Dinky noted that some of the filly's vitality had returned. After her usual lengthy grooming process, it was hard to tell if she was still under the weather. Friday morning classes were canceled to make way for a meeting in the main hall, which happened to be a mandatory demonstration concerning magical safety. The professors, of course, did not mention a reason for the meeting, but it was fairly obvious to most of the students, and as soon as the presenters began talking about identifying and avoiding dark magic, those who had caught on quickly made the connection. Although no names were mentioned, the incident at the residence tower wasn't even brought up. Dinky could feel several pairs of eyes staring in her direction. She did her best to stare straight ahead, refusing to acknowledge the odd curious glances. For the most part, the safety meeting was a bore. By the time it finally finished, Dinky and her friends were ready for lunch.
Did you see that staring at me?
Dinky asked angrily, as he bit into a daffodil sandwich. I may have been enrolled, but
I'm going to be paying for that accident for a long time.
only a few ponies know who started the fire, Clardy pointed out. Sure, a lot of ponies have heard it was you, but technically it's just a rumor. Obviously, the professors are going to keep pretending it wasn't a big deal, so they won't tell anybody. They'll act like nothing's different, and they'll stop caring within a week.
We can always go stay in a dorm or a hideout if you need some peace,
Honeydew added between sips of tomato soup. Dinky shrugged.
I hope things work out that way. I'm getting really tired dealing with all the problems associated with this mess.
Well, now you get a chance to think about something else, Clardy announced, waggling her spoon in the direction of the clock. It's almost time for our first magical artifact class. An easy, pale blue stallion with a forest green mane and supplemental bell for a cutie mark hobbled into the classroom and took a seat behind the desk. He surveyed the class with a passive curiosity, smiling contentedly. His eyes came to rest on Dinky, who had seated herself in front of the room, between Clarity and Honeydew as usual. Dinky smiled back. All right, class, the stallion called violently, in a voice much stronger than Dinky had expected for a pony his age. This is the first level of magical artifacts class. My name is Bronze Bell, and several students gasped, and a number of the more bored ponies licked up. Dinky wasn't sure precisely why, but even she had heard the name Bronze Bell before. She just couldn't remember where. Clarity had no such problem. Are you the Bronze Bell, the greatest archaeologist of modern Equestria? Formerly, Bronze Bell replied, chuckling. Most of you have probably heard stories about me, but those are from a decade or so ago. I retired from a life of work in the field, and at Princess Celestia's request, spent the last few years sharing my knowledge with students. You can just call me Professor Bronze. Will you at least tell us a story or two about your days traveling Equestria? One colt asked. Professor Bronze grinned. If we can get through the material we need to cover, I don't see why not. Dinky had never seen a group of students find their quills and notebooks so quickly. Within seconds, the whole class was at rapt attention. Well, since everybody is ready, let's begin. Professor Bronze said, his conversational tone quickly becoming more serious. The magic that we will discuss when dealing with magical artifacts almost always falls under the category of enchantments. Every artifact we have discovered with magical power only has that power because of an enchantment placed on it at some point in the past. Dinky's ears perked up at the mention of her favorite magical topic. The filly looked at the diamond pendant still dangling around her neck. Pleasantly, she raised a hoof, and the professor glanced in her direction.
We put enchantments on objects all the time in enchantments class,
she pointed out.
Why is it about magical artifacts that makes them different than, say, an enchanted pendant?
I was wondering if some pony would recognize the similarity.
Professor Botts laughed.
The reason magical artifacts are considered so important, both to the field of archaeology and to magic, is because they contain an irreplaceable element. The magic is either so ancient or so powerful that no pony alive today, not even the princesses, is able to duplicate the spell and apply it to another object. Some of these artifacts were created by great unicorn experimenters from hundreds or even thousands of years ago, who spent a lot of time studying arcane magic, now lost to pony kind. Only the enchanted relics remain to demonstrate those pillars' knowledge and ability.
Another filly raised a hoof. How many magical artifacts are there? She asked. Doesn't sound like they're very common. Are there only a few?
Actually, we just uncovered several dozen over the years.
Professor Bronze corrected. Smiling as the news sent a wave of surprised whispers through the class.
When you think about it, it really shows how little we actually understand about our own magic. Unicorns have discovered amazing spells that have been lost, and can only be used through these artifacts. Who here can name a magical artifact? Or should I say, set of artifacts that become well known during the past few years?
Dinky raised her hoof, but the professor called on a different filly, who confidently replied, The elements of harmony!
You just couldn't resist, could you?
Nope, Trixie, I could not.
Correct,
The stallion answered.
The elements of harmony are perhaps the most powerful and influential objects ever discovered. No pony knows where they came from. They date back to long before the arrival of our princesses. It's also believed they take different forms. Currently, the 6 ponies that bear them live in Ponyville, and the elements have taken the shape of 5 necklaces and crown after being first born after them.
Clarity raised a hoof, waggling through the air earnestly. The professor nodded, allowing her to speak.
Dinky and I know one of the bearers,
she announced. If we're going to be covering the elements of harmony in detail during this course, maybe we could have her come in as a guest speaker. The professor raised his eyebrows.
Oh? And which of the bearers have you met?
Twilight Sparkle! Clarity said proudly, earning a few sounds of admiration for the rest of the class.
I admit, even I like the chance to speak with Twilight Sparkle about her insights on the elements,
Professor Bronze said.
We will be covering the history and powers of the elements of harmony in more detail later in the semester. If you'd like to ask Twilight Sparkle to visit us then, I think everybody would appreciate it.
Clarity looked at Dinky. She's your tutor, will you?
Of course, Dinky said. Miss Twilight will probably be happy to come and give a talk.
Excellent, excellent, the professor said. Now, curiously enough, Twilight Sparkle is a useful way to lead today's topic. A recently discovered artifact that had been lost for a millennium, called the Crystal Heart. You all heard about the Crystal Empire when it reappeared a few months ago, right?
The student nodded, and so Professor Bronze continued.
As I'm sure most of you are aware, Twilight Sparkle and the rest of the bearers of the elements, alongside Princess Cadence and Captain Shining Armor, saved the long-lost Crystal Empire from the rule of a unicorn named King Sombra. Perhaps it's appropriate that his name comes up today as well. It wasn't a highly publicized fact, but King Sombra's power came primarily from dark magic.
Dinky swallowed. Wasn't that unicorn enslaved the whole kingdom?
But we're not here to talk about Sombra.
The professor continued in a lighter tone.
Far more interesting, at least to me, is the object that ultimately brought about his defeat, the Crystal Heart. As you have already been taught in enchantment class, crystalline structures are wonderful at holding powerful enchantments when compared to other objects. The Crystal Heart contains a very complicated spell that is apparently activated by hope and unity among the crystal ponies. Many scholars believe crystal ponies themselves are actually enchanted with the magic required to activate the heart. Although this is difficult to believe because enchantments on living things, in all conventional knowledge, are short-lived and certainly can't be passed on genetically. Yet, the Crystal Heart is useless when crystal ponies are around. The ponies themselves can lose their physical seeing and often become depressed and pathetic without input from the Crystal Heart. So, the theory of 2 separate enchantments complementing each other, one in the artifacts and one in the ponies themselves, is strongly supported.
The professor continued to discuss the intricacies of magic surrounding the Crystal Heart. Dinky's mind wandered back to King Sombra. She heard the story shortly after the incident itself, but she allowed herself to assume that Sombra, like other oppressive conquerors such as Queen Chrysalis, probably used an army to take the kingdom by force. Realization that one unicorn had dominated an entire kingdom by using the same kind of magic she had been using for a few weeks was startling. Briefly, Dinky imagined herself as a colossal, armored mare chattering over Carterlot, throwing bolts of darkness at any point that dared to stay out of line. She shifted.
That will never be me,
She reassured herself.
I stopped using dark magic before he could correct me, and I sworn off it already good. And nobody's in any danger, because all the students in this school who can use that magic are me and Sunbeam!
Dinky announced, causing both Clarity and Honeydew to look up rather suddenly. What about him? Clarity asked, absently as she lay sprawled on the earthen floor of the Philly's forest hideout. I thought we agreed to stop worrying about him.
But didn't you hear what Professor Braun said in class today?
Dinky asked.
The King Samra guy took over the whole Crystal Empire with dark magic. We can't just let a cult who knows much dark magic as Sunbeam do as he pleases. He took the power of the Crystal Heart to start Samra. What if Sunbeam tries something in the school, or even Equestria is put into mortal danger because of it? I'm not sure that's really that big of a possibility,
Honeydew mumbled. Yeah, you're jumping to conclusions, Dinky, Clarity accused. Sir, King Sabra was a pony who could use dark magic, but his chance to take over the whole empire probably came from a level of cunning, strategy, and experience far beyond anything Sunbeam's capable of. Not to mention, Sabra's dark magic was probably a lot more powerful than Sunbeam's.
We're not saying Sunbeam isn't dangerous,
Honeydew added quickly.
We're just surrounded by powerful unicorns, and even the princesses come and go regularly. Nobody can really get away with a dark magic assault on that kind of scale around here.
The soft powering interrupted the conversation. The sound of trouble meandering into the willow. Usually, when the fox arrived, he paid a little attention to the fillies. But today, he marched up to Dinky, staring at her expectantly.
What's wrong, Trouble?
She asked. Being a fox, Trouble did not reply. Instead, he turned and nodded the splint on his leg.
Oh, that's right. It's probably time for that to come off, Dinky said. Your spring legs should be feeling better by now for sure.
Dinky spent a few moments considering how to best remove the splint without letting Trouble squirm or lash out. Finally, she decided to simply lift the entire fox into the air with magic. Trouble glared at her, but remained lit in her aura as she carefully undid the splint. The fox's leg appeared normal, aside from a little matted fur, so she gently returned the animal to the ground. Trouble shook his back leg gently and took a few steps. He gave a satisfied yip and gave Dinky's foreleg an appreciative nuzzle.
Aw, Trouble's starting to like you,
Honeydew kid. Dinky rolled her eyes.
Oh boy, a fox who likes me almost as much as he likes his tail to destroy my stuff. Just what I needed.
As if to try to prove Dinky's point, Trouble bounded across the underground room and picked up a scroll containing one of Dinky's half-finished essays in his mouth. Wagging his tail suspiciously, he stared at Dinky, as if daring the filly to chase him. Dinky, intended as he was, Dinky couldn't help but smirk.
You really live up to your name, don't you, you ungrateful little thing?
She asked.
I took care of your injured leg, and you're nothing but trouble.
To Dinky's great surprise, Trouble ceased his playful pose. Head and tail drooping, he shuffled forward and held up the scroll in his teeth. Dinky was taken aback.
Yeah, that's better,
she stuttered, reaching down to take the scroll back. Just as the filly's hoof brushed against the paper, Trouble sprang up and bounded away again, waving his tail mockingly. Clarity burst into laughter. Ha ha ha! He faked you out, Dinky. You should know not to trust him by now. Dinky growled and finally gave in to temptation. She charged at Trouble, who merrily sprang out of the way. Dinky skidded to a halt, stopping herself against a wide, flat rock embedded in the wall. Without warning, the huge rock gave way, rolling into a tunnel it had previously been concealing. Dinky, whose weight had been momentarily supported by the boulder, cried out as he tumbled into the darkness concealed with it. Concerned, Clarity and Honeydew ran to the newly created opening. Trouble, sensing the game was over, dropped the skull, shaggy, but otherwise unharmed, next to Dinky's bag, before hastily returning from the hollow.
Oh my, Honeydew squeaked. Dinky, are you okay?
Dinky lay sprawled on her back atop the boulder.
I think so,
she replied, sitting up.
What happened? I always thought this rock was firmly buried in the wall, but I never thought it toppled like that.
Clarity stepped down from the hollow onto the big rock, down to the floor. There was a series of small splashes as he found her host submerged in the inch of water. Not much of the light from the hideout's illumination orb was available, so she lit her own horn instead to look around. As the light flooded into the small space, it revealed the walls and floor were made not of stone, but of neatly stacked, uniform bricking. "Bricks?" Clarity asked, giving Dinky and Honeydew a bewildered look. "That means ponies have been here before. Maybe we're not the first ones to discover this hollow after all."
Why do you think it was hidden like that?
Honeydew asked.
That rock was probably put there on purpose, right? It could mean whoever was here before didn't want anybody to find this place.
Dinky theorized. "Which means we totally have to see where this tunnel goes," Clarity added eagerly. Honeydew surprisingly cracked a smile.
With you two, I know arguing won't do me any good,
she said.
"Let's go."
Clarity gave a huge grin, as if to say that's the spirit, and promptly turned and led the way down the tunnel. Honeydew gave a nervous chuckle as she and Dinky followed along.
"There's nothing to worry about, Honeydew,"
Dinky reassured her.
"Whatever this was, it's obviously not in use anymore."
For several minutes, the fillies walked quietly along the passage, guided by only the combined light of their horns. The corridor began to gradually slant upwards. Other than the occasional patch of moss, the tunnel was unremarkable. The same dark uniform bricks composed the entire length. After several minutes, the passageway ended abruptly at another plain brick wall. Now the shaft continued straight up, finally ending at a drain dozen or so pony lengths above. Clarity groaned. "A drain?" she asked, clearly disappointed. "We find a secret tunnel in our secret hideout, and it turns out to be nothing more than a drainage shaft? Talk about anticlimactic!"
"Well, now that we know where the water at the bottom came from,"
Heidi said.
"but why was it sealed off? It was just a drainage tunnel."
Dinky watched a single drop of water fall to the top of the shaft. Then it began to snake its way between the bricking down the slope.
"It doesn't look like it's really in use anymore," she said. "There was no reason to keep it open for potential maintenance, because there's no record flow of water coming down."
Clarity squinted, trying to make out the area on the other side of the drain, far above. "Where are we, anyway? Underneath the castle somewhere?"
"The tunnel didn't go nearly far enough to leave the academy grounds,"
Dinky pointed out.
"If we're not under the castle, we're at least under one of the adjacent buildings." "Well, wherever we are, it's dark and creepy. It doesn't lead anywhere."
Honeydew said, turning it back in the direction of the hollow.
"So, let's just go back to the hideout
And boom!
and..."
Honeydew screamed in terror, turned tail for the intruder, and promptly ran straight into the wall. Dazed, she shook her head as Dinky and Clarity helped her to her hooves, and then looked for the source of the unexpected scare. Blue's light slowly lit the fastest further, revealing a laughing brown coat.
"Scuffle!"
Honeydew whined.
"Don't do that. You know how easily I scare."
"Sorry," Scuffle chuckled. "But come on, a nervous filly exploring a dark, scary passageway? That's too good to pass up." Honeydew frowned. Dinky stepped between the two falls.
"Scuffle, what are you doing here anyway?"
she asked, a little miffed at Scuffle's behavior. "I just stopped by in time to see you three disappearing down this tunnel, so I figured I'd follow you," Scuffle explained. "So, you said this is just an old drainage shaft?"
Dinky nodded. "Looks like it. We have no way of getting up there to take it any further, though."
"Amateurs," Scuffle mumbled, pushing Dinky gently out of the way and striding up to the wall. His horn glowed brighter, and eventually he placed a forehoof on the wall. "Check out this new trick," he said, letting his other forehoof against the wall. The colt gave a quick hop, then, somehow, attached his hindhooves to the wall as well. He stood there on the vertical wall without falling, like some kind of gray, furry spider. Not even Honeydew could be trained not to be impressed. Arrogantly, Scuffle relished the filly's soft stares. How are you doing that?" Clarity asked finally. "I'm casting an anti-gravity spell that's exactly equal to the force of gravity," Scuffle said proudly. "In other words, there's a force pulling me up equal to the one pulling me down, so I don't move anywhere in space. I can then just use the friction between my hooves and the wall to climb on vertical surfaces." He beckoned to Dinky. Come on, Dinks. I think I can maintain the spell on 2 points at once. At least long enough for us to take a quick look at the top.
You think?
Dinky parroted.
That doesn't sound too promising.
Scuffle smart. Well, Clarity and Dewey know their levitation spells enough to watch us. Should something go wrong, he chuckled.
Please don't call me Dewey,
Honeydew murmured. He's got a point, Clarity said. Go ahead, Dinky. You'll be fine. Dinky stepped onto the shaft and stood still as Scuffle extended his spell to her. She hopped into the air and giggled when she failed to fall back down again, instead remaining suspended just a short distance off the ground. If you want to move up or down, you gotta put your hose against something, Scuffle reminded her. Otherwise, you'll just sort of hover. Dinky swung herself through the air until she could reach the opposite wall of Scuffle. From her new perspective, he seemed to be upside down. Walking was a little strange, since very little force kept Dinky's hose planted on the surface she was currently treating as ground. But after a moment, she got the hang of it, and she and Scuffle strode to the top of the shaft. What's in there? Scuffle asked, squinting as he tried to see through the small openings in the vent. Dinky looked as well. The room, as he had expected, seemed to be nothing more than a typical cellar. Big boxes filled at least half of the room. A mountain of woefully out-of-date textbooks sat in the corner, too damp and moldy to be used, even if they had been reaching a distance.
Just a basement under the castle, she said. There was no reason to assume it'd be anything else.
Lame, Scuffle grunted. I was hoping for a secret chamber where they stored dangerous objects of incredible magic power, or at least a peephole into the village washroom. Dinky felt her cheeks redden. She glared at Scuffle, who grinned sheepishly. Relax, I'm kidding. Mostly. Dinky just rolled her eyes and made her way back down to the wall. Once she and Scuffle reached the bottom, she later removed the effects of the spell. Dinky bent her knees momentarily so she could readjust the pull of gravity.
There's nothing special up there, she announced. It's just a cellar. Come on, we've wasted enough time in this stingy place.
You got to witness my amazing magic, Scuffle bragged, pretending to polish a hole on his coat. So obviously it wasn't a total waste of time. Dinky and Clarity rolled their eyes in unison. Scuffle laughed softly. Hey, I'm just kidding around. You know that, right? Clarity snorted. Trust me, Scuffle. I'd be more concerned if you weren't trying to get on our nerves every 5 seconds. A few minutes later, Scuffle and the fillies returned to the hollow. Scuffle stopped in his tracks halfway to the exit and turned back to face Dinky. Shoot, forgot to ask why I came down in the first place. He realized. I got a question for you, Dinks. Dinky raised an eyebrow.
Oh.
There's been a lot of crazy rumors flying around the school ever since that fire in the girls' dorm on Wednesday. Scuffle said. One popular one, and I don't know where this came from, is that you were responsible for the dark spell that set it off. Obviously, that was just a hoax, but do you know where it came from? Dinky trailed off, casting a nervous glance at Clarity, who tried.
That was not fake, Scuffle. I did start the fire.
Scuffle snorted. Yeah, not buying it. You're like the teamest filly I know except for Dewey over there.
Don't call me Dewey.
And there's just no way somebody like you would be the one using dark magic. Dinky huffed.
Well, I'm not going to cause dark magic just to prove I can. I barely could fully expel there last time. Besides, every time I use it, I risk modifying my mind and corrupting my morals.
You can check Dinky's records if you don't believe her, Clarity said. She was the one responsible. It was an accident, but still. Scuffle looked back between Dinky and Clarity. You two really aren't kidding, are you? Dinks really knows how to conjure dark magic? Dinky nodded solemnly.
Yep, and I'm never doing it again, though. It's too dangerous.
Curious expression crossed Scuffle's face. Wait, Dinky knows dark magic. That means... He broke into the grin. Holy crap. Do you three realize the implications? This might be the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me. Dinky scroused out her snout.
What are you talking about? There's nothing good about this at all.
No, you don't get it, Scuffle said excitedly. You can use dark magic. That means you're dangerous. Heck, It means most of the students could potentially wind up being afraid of you.
You're not helping, Dinky said irritably. And I still don't see what the upside there is.
Dinks, once this news gets out, it'll be my ticket back onto my brother's good side, Scuffle exclaimed. I'll be able to get them to believe the whole reason I've been hanging out with you three is because I'm more scared of you than them, and with good reason. Then they'll accept me again, and my problems will be over.
Aha! I knew it!
Every pony felt a surprise, primarily because, in the entire term, Honeydew's voice had never achieved a volume even close to the level which it had just risen. Dinky, Clarity, and Scuffle all turned to the pink filly, who, after hardly spoken since Scuffle's arrival, now stood staring angrily at him.
I can't believe you!
Honeydew continued, outraged, before Scuffle could speak.
All this time, Dinky and Clarity have been telling me to give you a chance. And yet here you are, still just looking for a way to get back with those awful brothers of yours.
Well, just because I'm hanging out with you three doesn't mean I like the idea of being on Scorch and Frosty's bad sides, Scuffle said defensively, backing away from the angry filly.
I know,
Honeydew said, taking a step forward each time Scuffle began to back away.
All you care about is your brothers' respect. We both know you only hang out with us because you don't have anywhere else to turn to when they shun you. I had hoped, just maybe, you would turn out that Dinky and Clarity were right, and you would change your ways. But it sounds to me like you're more than eager to get back into your brother's inner circle and turn back into a bully.
Honeydew's horn lit up as he yelled the last few words. The enchanted star in the ring, her tail glimmered. Something in the ceiling shifted, raining flakes of soil on down the falls. Neither Honeydew nor Scuffle seemed to notice, but Dinky and Clarity, who were stunned to silence by Honeydew's sudden outburst, glanced at the ceiling nervously. Let's not jump to conclusions, Scuffle barked back. What makes you think I start making your lives miserable again if my brothers re-accepted me? Honeydew snorted.
Because you basically already did. Are you seriously willing to appease the trust Dinky put into you by spreading around the truth about her? You'll get your own life back, but you've ruined hers. Honeydew.
Well, what do you expect me to do? Scuffle continued. I don't want to do anything that makes any pony miserable, but I'm also not willing to suffer to keep other ponies happy. I'm sorry, but I'm not that generous, and frankly, I'd be insane if I was! Nicole turned to leave. I'll try to see if I can get Scorch and Frosty to keep quiet, but no promises. The ring on Honeydew's tail glowed softly. Soil exploded out of the ceiling, as the root of the great tree above Hollow burst forth and snaked downwards, knocking Scuffle into his back and pinning him down to the ground. What the? Scuffle gasped, fruitlessly kicking his hind legs in an effort to break free from the root's pressure. Hey, let me go!
Should we do something?
Dinky asked Clarity. The two fillies looked anxiously between their fighting friends, trying to decide the best course of action. Honeydew seemed not to hear Scuffle.
I'm sick and tired of ponies like you,
she cried, fresh tears starting to run down her cheeks.
Every pony wonders why I have so much trouble trusting any pony. Obviously it's because a lot of the time they turn out to be a big jerk who doesn't care about me at all.
The root tightened over Scuffle's chest. The colt winced.
But I didn't fall for it this time.
Honeydew continued proudly.
I knew you never really changed. I knew you eventually tried to ruin at least one of our lives again.
Dewey, you're blowing this out of proportion.
Stop calling me Dewey!
Honeydew roared, causing another gnarled root to burst from the ceiling. It came down with tremendous force and crashed into the dirt just inches from Scuffle's head. The Scuffle's eyes went wide, and he gave a freaking squeak. Dinky! Clarity, help! She's gone nuts! Clarity leapt into action. The filly let her horn and quickly yanked a shimmering ring off of Honeydew's tail. The roots riding in the ceiling immediately stopped, and gradually, the ones that had attached Scuffle began to retreat. Honeydew stood, panting and staring at Scuffle and the receding roots. Her various expressions slowly evaporated, and was replaced with one of confusion.
Did I do that?
She asked, staring at the tips of the roots as they finally vanished back into the soil. Do what? Try to get the tree to beat me up? Scuffle asked crossly. Yeah, that was you. Honeydew was silent. Several times he had tried to say something, but when he finally did speak, all that came out was,
I need to go.
Without looking back, Honeydew made for the exit. Honeydew, you forgot your ring, Clarity said cautiously. Honeydew turned back around.
Oh, you can hold on to that for now. I just really need to go.
Honeydew's trot escalated to a gallop, and soon she disappeared from the hollow. Scuffle stared at her, then turned and looked at the two remaining fillies inquisitively. Jeez, I didn't think she had that in her. Dinky stopped a hoof angrily.
What was that all about, Scuffle? I think Honeydew's opinion of you was horrible enough already. You didn't exactly do yourself any favors making her that upset. Were you really going to put me in that kind of position by telling your friends what happened? Because it's so, frankly, I think Honeydew had every right to throw a fit.
Scuffle crimsoned, Dinky scolding. Well, I guess that was what I was going to do, yeah, but I didn't think it would really affect things that much.
Scuffle, even though it wasn't my fault, I guess it spelled it put ponies' lives in danger.
Dinky reminded her.
I feel horrible about what happened, and I already had to relive the event over and over again as I re-explained it to the dean, to my mom, to my tutor, and to Princess Celestia. You don't think it's a big deal to let that information get out to the third body so they can find me what a horrible thing I did every day for the rest of the term?
Scuffle hung his head. This is a big deal. I didn't realize. He trailed off. Dinky sighed and lowered her voice to normal.
Scuffle, I need you to be honest with me. Are you actually hanging out with us because you want to? Or because you know Clarity and I were hesitant to sudden you?
Okay, I've been making some mistakes, but I haven't been lying about wanting to become friends with you three, Scuffle insisted. I never said I was going to stop hanging out with you if I earned back my brother's respect. Honeydew worked that out herself. Incorrectly, I might add. A few moments of silence followed. Scuffle sighed and gave Dinky a doleful look. I'm really sorry, Dinks. I'll keep quiet about you around my brothers, he promised. I guess I owe it to you three, or something like that. Dinky nodded.
Well, you didn't actually do what you said to, so I'll give you another chance. It's going to be a lot harder to get Dinky to give you one, though.
Scuffle sighed. Believe me, I know. Is there any chance you two could talk to her? Just to see where I stand before I approach her myself, of course.
I think I could do that,
Dinky said, as Clarity nodded, the promise to the same.
Besides, it's not like Honeydew to react to something so forcefully. I think she's as confused about what happened as you are.
Scuffle nodded. Let her know I didn't mean to make her so upset, he mumbled. I should get going. See you two later. The three falls exited the hideout, and soon went their separate ways. Dinky and Clarity saw very little of Honeydew over the next few days. According to the tracking enchantment in Clarity's beret, Honeydew was spending nearly all of her free time in Professor Chetnut's lab in the biology department. She returned to dorm to sleep only very little in the evening, and then got up at dawn and disappeared again. Dinky didn't manage to find enough time alone with Honeydew to talk about what had happened until the following Tuesday in magic biology class. The purple filly trotted into the classroom and took her usual seat next to Honeydew, who gave her an unreadable look. Before anything could be said, however, Professor Chestnut and Cornelius arrived. Good morning, everybody! The mayor called out. We're going to be starting on a new topic today. So I need everybody to get out the textbooks and take to page 350. Yeah, hurry up. Cornelius squawked, striding along the brim of the professor's hat. I'll sit here today, and not much time to do it in. Dinky opened her textbook and read the heading on the page.
The Beginner's Guide to Potions and Other Magical Mixtures.
Each pair of students will find a large brass pot under the desk,
Professor Chestnut added.
Please move to the tabletop and we can begin.
Professor Chestnut turned and began scribbling notes on a chalkboard. Honeydew wordlessly lit her horn and lifted upon it to the desk she and Dinky shared.
Now, I bet some of you are a little surprised,
Professor Chestnut chuckled.
Potion making is a better far cry for the topics we covered in class so far. But it is, in fact, one of the main pillars of this subject. Potions are a combination of two things we hold in high regard in this class. Logic and limits of the natural world, much like enchanted objects. Potions are a way to gain access to a magical effect that one may not be able to produce with a single spell, as well as a way to share those effects with those ponies and Pegasi.
Taking a swig of potion isn't going to last more than a few hours, Cordelia said, but you can bet your tails the effect can potentially be more pronounced than those puny spells from enchanted items.
Indeed, the professor affirmed. Potions can be used to temporarily increase ability, such as allowing the drinker to become stronger, faster, or even more magically powerful for a short time.
Or, render the poor sap confused, irrationally terrified, or just plain nuts, Cordelia said dryly.
Yes, but psychoactive potions are not the topic we teach the first-term students, Professor Chestnut said quickly. They are both difficult to make and have limited uses, especially among students. More important perhaps are healing potions, which we will explore later in the term. Mana potions, sadly, get the axe. Ah! She indicated the chalkboard. Today, we'll be using the ingredients prepared in baskets on your desk, combined with a few simple spells to make an energy burst potion. This simple concoction works a bit like making a caffeinated drink. Except the effects are instantaneous, and you can determine exactly how long it will last. It'll probably cause us no surprise that many students keep flasking this stuff with them during week of final exams. Your instructions are written here, so you're free to begin. I'm always available if you have a question.
That's so long as not a stupid question, Cornelius said, readying himself to jump out of the way in case the professor swatted at him.
Let's get started,
Honeydew mumbled, already receiving a jug of water to add to the pot.
"'Cause there's a daffodil root, please."
Dinky obeyed, but she wasn't planning on letting Honeydew act like nothing was wrong. The pink filly avoided her gaze, carefully stirring the ingredients in the pot and modifying it with spells.
"Honeydew,"
Dinky said quietly, her voice barely audible over the chatter of class.
"I think maybe we should talk."
To Dinky's surprise, Honeydew nodded.
"I guess we should, but it's just a little hard to think about what happened a few days ago." "Well, Scuffle told you to tell me that he didn't mean to make you upset,"
Dinky said.
"He's decided not to tell his brothers about you-know-what."
Scuffle's not even what I'm upset about, Honeydew admitted. Dinky scratched out her snoot.
"Wait, what?" "No, I wasn't actually disappointed in Scuffle, because I already expected him to do what I did."
Honeydew mumbled.
"I was angry at him for fooling you two." "But he wasn't fooling us,"
Dinky insisted.
"Scuffle's under a lot of pressure. He's been making a big sacrifice to keep this secret for us. All he wants is a way to keep himself out of harm's way while still being our friend, and, well, trying to capitalize on my abilities wasn't his best idea, that's all."
Honeydew nodded.
"But that's still not the issue. What worries me is how I responded."
Dinky smiled comfortably.
"You were very emotional. Things like that happen. Nobody got hurt after all."
Honeydew shook her head forcefully.
"No, it shouldn't have happened like that. I'm a better pony than that. But I was so angry at Scuffle that I became a bully myself for a little."
The filly squeezed her eyes shut to hold back a few tears.
"It's just, after all the things that had happened to me growing up, I couldn't bear the thought that, even here, there was somebody who was letting the bad stuff to happen to me and my friends for his own benefit. I don't want to spend time with some pony I'm not 100% certain I can trust."
She sniffled and wiped her eyes.
Can you pass the leeks, please?"
Dinky grabbed the festival out of the basket.
"Do we even need more of these?" she asked. "I already put some in the potion."
We don't, Honeydew admitted, forcing a smile. But if you crust them up, they make your eyes water. That way, nobody will notice I'm tearing up a bit. Dinky chuckled and passed the leeks.
"Well, I don't think Scuffle's quite as shaking up as you think he is,"
she said.
"To be fair, his brothers have probably already gotten him a lot worse than you could have."
Honeydew nodded slowly.
"I guess, but if it's true that he's really trying to look out for some pony other than himself, then I guess I need to talk to him. I behave inexcusably, and
She swallowed, struggling to admit.
Guess I need to apologize.
Dinky placed a hoof on Honeydew's shoulder.
Take your time.
She advised her forlorn friend.
You and Scuffle have had a rough time with each other all term. You need some time before you can bring yourself to talk to him. I think you'll understand.
Honeydew tossed a few luminescent petals into the potion and gave a quick stir, nodding in satisfaction as the color changed to a dull mauve.
I'll do that. Maybe not right away, but I will apologize. I owe it to him.
You ladies, get to work! Cornelius squawked from across the classroom. Honeydew smiled at the bright bird, as she and Dinky quickly continued their concoction.
Come in.
The door to the dean's office creaked open, as Sparkler quietly made her way inside.
You wanted to see me, Professor Spark?
She asked. Bright Spark nodded solemnly.
Yes, come sit, Sparkler. We have to discuss something.
Sparkler trotted forward and sat down across from the dean. Did I do something wrong? The overseer asked. There haven't been any incidents in the last few days, as far as I know. The dean shook her head.
No, Sparkler, this isn't about you,
she said softly.
It's about the incident last week, and more specifically, the failure responsible.
Sparkler rolled her eyes.
Dinky Doo? What's she done this time?
Gotten herself readmitted, as I'm sure you've noticed.
Bright Spark said angrily.
I respect our princess, but she's not infallible. She's blinded by Dinky's sob story and vague excuses, and she can't see that Philly simply doesn't belong here.
Sparkle bit her lip. Well, even you can't overrule her. There's nothing we can do about it, right?
Not exactly.
Bright Spark said mysteriously.
There may still be something we can do.
The dean smiled starkly.
Only if you'd be willing to help me, that is.
Sparkle raised her eyebrows.
Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?
The dean retained the unsettling smile.
I'm suggesting you start paying special attention to that filly,
she said softly.
Go out of your way to keep an eye on her. She's already been in a number of troubled times this term. All we need is to catch her acting out of line one more time, and I can force her out of both our maze for good.
But what if Dinky doesn't do anything else against the rules? Sparkler asked cautiously.
You're a smart filly, Bright Spark said, grin growing. Perhaps you could find a way to help her along?
Sparkler blinked, then she too smiled.
An interesting proposition. I suppose I'm not beyond stepping a little outside the lines, if it's in the interest to make sure justice is given where it's due.
Excellent, the dean hissed. You're excused, Sparkler dear, and remember, I'm counting on you.